What's going on, you guys? This is Trent here at Rexburg Motorsports, and I'm here to do another machine overview with you. Now today we are going to compare the 350 to the 450. These are two awesome bikes from the Austrian companies. We've got a KTM and a Husqvarna here, and I wanted to show you exactly how these two stack up under a novice class rider on the track. So we're going to get into some lap times. We're going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of both of these bikes, and we are going to have a great time doing it. So let's check these two bikes out, and thanks for watching. All right, you guys, so we've got two awesome bikes here. The 350 from KTM, this is a 2021. We just took it in on trade, and I had to see how it compared to the 2022 Husqvarna FC 450 that I bought for myself. Now, over the last several years, I've had every size bike that you can have. 125 two-stroke, 250 two-stroke, 250 four-stroke, 450. I haven't tried a 350. So when we got this thing in, I had to compare it with my own 450 to see what the hype was all about. If you've studied the 350, you know they give you an awesome broad power spread, revving all the way out to 13,000 RPMs. And it's supposed to give you the best of both worlds. 450 numbers to an extent up top, and then with the tractability and the low speed manners of a 250 four-stroke. So it's supposed to not tire you out as much, not supposed to hit as hard. So I wanted to see what this was all about, because honestly, going from the 125 two-stroke that I had at the beginning of the year, this 450 was unreal. I couldn't believe how light it still felt. I couldn't believe how metered the power band was, and it blew my mind. So I did want to see what this thing was about. So what we did is I took both of these bikes out to Pocatello's motocross track for a Saturday practice, threw a GoPro on my head, and I threw down some laps. Now, I'll be honest with you, I am so excited to show you guys these lap times and talk to you about the feelings that I had. So first off, let's get into these lap times. Okay, so I did that one right after the other. I went out on the 450, I did 5 laps and pushed as hard as I typically do on that track, which again, for my speed, it's okay. But I went out there and I pushed on my 450. The best lap time that I was able to manage, which is the one that you just saw there, was a 142.6. Okay, that was awesome. Pulled off, chilled out for a little while, and then I jumped on the 350. So after about a 8-minute rest, I jumped on the 350. The track was very, very similar, and I went out there and just threw down 6 or so laps, and it felt awesome. It blew my mind, but we'll get to the time first. The quickest lap time that I threw down on this 350, which again had 0 time on before this, was a 140.2, which is what you just saw there. So I was almost 2.5 seconds faster on this 350 than I was on the 450. Now, why is that? So let's talk about the feelings that I had while I was out on the track. So the big thing that I noticed going back and forth between these two things is the 450, albeit with the Husqvarna being so light for a 450 and so metered for a 450, it gets me tired really quick. I can throw down a pretty decent lap time, but I get tired quick enough that I go into conservative mode so I don't grenade myself. So I kind of tame it down. I try to ride at about, 85, 90%. So I'm not pushing it super, super hard, but it's primarily because I can't hold on. It's got so much power and it's got so much torque that, man, it gives you more than you can handle, which is awesome if you're at the dunes, if you love the excitement, if you're a bigger guy. I'm 5'8" and 160 pounds, and so a 450 for me, man, it tires me out super fast. Do I love it? Absolutely. All the power is so fun, so exciting. With the 350, the thing that blew my mind, I noticed right off the bat, it definitely did not have the low-end response of the 450. So I had to, ride it in the higher RPM range, clutch it just a little bit more in corners to get it up into the power band. But it revved so quickly compared to the 450. It was like a blip of the throttle and you were at red line, whereas the 450, you can feel like it's a slower revving power band. With the 350, I also noticed when I was out on the track, it didn't tire me out because of that power spread. This thing revs all the way to 13,000 RPMs, and it's up near 13,000 where you get its peak of 54.4 horsepower. It's an awesome motor, and it blows my mind how smooth and how predictable it is, while still giving you that little bit of excitement factor that you need to make it so it doesn't get a little bit dull. This 350 blew my mind when it came to the power spread. Now, when it came to chassis feel, this was something that kind of blew my mind because I actually started the day on the 350. I did a session on each bike before I did the timed laps. And on the 350, I was riding it, and I could tell right off the bat the difference in power. But when I was riding it, I was like, honestly, it feels just like my 450 that I'm used to. Ergonomically, of course, that's going to be the case. But I felt like it was going to be, I felt like it was the same in corners, and I felt like it was the same going down straightaways, and as I was riding it, just felt the same. And so I got off the track, and I was like, well, it felt about the same. I thought about that for a little bit, thought about how it was feeling and stuff like that. But then I jumped on the 450. And it was blatantly obvious as soon as I got it onto the track that I was completely wrong. They feel totally different. It's only a pound difference on the scales with this 350 versus the 450. It felt like 20, legitimately. The 450, it's so awesome in how predictable and smooth the handling characteristics are. But after riding a 350 back-to-back, I noticed how much more bound up the chassis felt. When you rev the bike, you can feel the torque working on the chassis. And the Husqvarna does a great, great job of masking that. But once you jump on them back-to-back, you really, really notice that torque feel and that rotating mass that this 450 motor has really does work on this chassis. So I noticed it like when I would come out of corners and I would get on the gas, I could feel like it working on the chassis, twisting it almost, if you will. It's hard to explain, honestly, but it would twist on the chassis a little bit and you would feel it kind of want to do what the motor wants it to do. And then when you would be in the air and you would rev it, you could feel the whole bike move. Whereas on the 350, you'd rev on it and it felt just like a 250F. It felt light. It felt flickable. I could move it around a little bit more, be it in the air or on the ground. And it never wanted to do what the motor wanted it to do. It wanted to do what the rider wanted it to do. Now again, I'm a C-Class rider. I love this stuff. I've been riding for all of my life. And I was blown away with the differences. If you're curious about these 350s, you need to beg, borrow, and steal to try to get a ride on one of these. It's amazing. It will blow your mind. Now, what kind of rider, what kind of riding conditions would benefit from both of these bikes? Because they both do have their place. If you're a bigger guy and love to ride everywhere, the 450 is going to be awesome. If you ride the dunes, 450 is the only way to go. If you're a smaller guy like myself and you do it all, then that 350 is an excellent option. It doesn't quite have the raw grunt of the 450, doesn't quite have the overall peak numbers, but it is so much more approachable when it comes to using what it has. The 450, again, it gets me tired quick. It makes me want to calm down a little bit on the throttle and let off a little bit, just because I don't want to whiskey throttle, or I don't want to get blown off the back, because there is a lot of power here. Granted, I play with the maps on both of these, map 1, map 2. Map 2 is the aggressive one on both of these. Map 1 is the more tame one. And then both of these had traction control. And I played with all of it. The 450 is amazing. I love it. I'm so glad that I have one in my garage. Do I wish I had the 350? Yeah, I think I do. The 350 was awesome. I can't believe how good of a power spread this had. I can't believe how predictable it was in the corners and how light it felt. Legitimately, with a 1 pound difference, with the lack of rotating mass and the lack of that instant torque, you could feel a total difference in this, and it felt way big. It felt like 20 pounds. I feel like, honestly, the difference between these two bikes, as far as the weight feel went, that was almost 252 or 254 stroke versus 125 2-stroke feel. No kidding. If you'd like more information on either one of these bikes, go ahead and give us a call here at Rexburg Motorsports. My name's Trent. I appreciate you watching these videos. If you would, consider hitting that thumbs up button. On YouTube right now, that's the big thing to make sure that this video gets put out in front of more people. So please hit that like button. We'd appreciate it tons. I'm looking forward to reading your comments down below on these. I check out every single one of those comments. And, you know, I'll tell you, it's awesome to do these little YouTube videos. Thanks so much again for watching this video. And if you would, consider hitting that subscribe button. But we'll see you guys in another video here soon, here at Rexburg Motorsports. Have a good day.